Let's look at Monday as we start the new week. Who do we stream in? It could be the first week of the fantasy playoffs for you, so we've got to make sure we hit the moves. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I don't want to see a ghost. It's a sight that I fear most. I'd rather have a piece of toast and watch the evening news. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers at FanDuel sign up FanDuel.com and get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com. That is where you can find the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. If you want to get all of the down low on the waivings, the two-way contracts like Jacob Toppin being waived by the Knicks, Matt Ryan out of a job. You can check all that out at the Knicks newsletter, Locked On Knicks newsletter, over at LockedOnDaily.com. You're double banging over here, of course. We know you're doing that. It is National Moscow Mule Day. Do you know what a Moscow Mule is? Do you like Moscow Mules? I think they're very overrated as a drink. I'd much rather have, I don't know, obviously a piece of toast, but many different types of drinks and cocktails. Moscow Mule is incredible. The only thing good about a Moscow Mule, not the only thing good, the best thing about a Moscow Mule is the dedicated mug, that copper-handled mug. That's a W. The drink, whatever. Let's get into the schedule stuff. We know we are in fantasy playoffs. If you're in Roto leagues, it's a different story. You need to be now, those 6 weeks to go Roto leagues. Check your games played. Check where you're at with your maxes. Are you under pace? Are you over pace? Do you need to start rotating through to get your games up? Because if you wait too long, you'll get to a stage where your good players might miss out, or they might be injured, or you just cannot get enough games in. So we've got about, 6 weeks to go. We've got 42 days left, but only 40 days of NBA play left, I believe. I think there are 2 0-game days. Maybe one of them, we used to do 0-game day for March Madness championship game. I'm not sure we do that anymore, but there's definitely 1 0-game day in there. So we've either got 40 or 41 game days left. So check your Roto leagues to make sure that you've got enough space to get those games played into the right slots. Yes? All right. Let's talk about where the schedule sits. These are back-to-backs Monday, Tuesday. 4 teams have got this back-to-back. And this is important when we're trying to maximize moves. Hawks, Warriors, Rockets, and 76ers. I'd be a little cautious in, not really in Atlanta, maybe Trae Young. Golden State, Jimmy Butler missed the last game with a back issue, which I'm not sure is real or not, but you've got to obviously be cautious there. Same with Steph, same with Draymond. For the Rockets, Fred VanVleet came back, stood on an official's foot in the first minute of the game, and we'll see whether he's able to go in both of those games. Tari Eason's probably going to sit in the second one of those. And then for the Sixers, Paul George has popped up on the injury report. So you'd have to be a little worried that George plays in either. In fact, I'm certain Paul George won't play in both of these games, so pay attention to that. Gershon Yabusele has got busted-ass knees. Andre Drummond's been dealing with a toe problem. Tyrese Maxey has got a problem with his finger currently. They are, by the way, the Sixers constantly mentioning about Maxey's finger. Remember, there's so much stuff that gets leaked through reporters, the team, through coaches, managers, whoever, agents, that often is just a setup. It's a setup. Not like a setup as in like you are being played, but it's a preamble. It's just preparing. It's just setting the groundwork. So Paul George's dealing with a finger, which is a legitimate injury, and then being questionable for Monday's game with a what are they calling it? Knee soreness, I think, is Paul George's status for the game on Monday, which is a back-to-back, as they've already shut Joel Embiid down for the season. I'm assuming he's getting knee surgery. And as they, you hear these internal, or not, you don't hear the internal stuff, or groin soreness for Paul George. You hear them, they're going to focus on keeping their pick. So Paul George's finger, now a groin soreness. The constant talk about Tyrese Maxey having a problem with one of his fingers and he can't dribble the ball. And he's having to deal with pain and that's why the shot's not going down. They're all preparing you for these guys to just not play games. Because, again, they will want to lose as we head towards the end of the season. And these are actual problems that these players have. But if they were in the playoffs, they'd push through them. But for the final 10 games of the regular season, they don't need to. So just, again, be aware of that. That's what we're preparing for. Yeah, for a lot of these teams, the Warriors and the Rockets, they won't do that because they're pushing for seeding and playoffs, all that sort of stuff. But when the narrative makes sense, when the actual real life implications make sense, just watch that. Just watch that. There are 4 teams, though, heading into Monday who play Sunday on the back-to-back. Miami, the Thunder, the Blazers, and the Jazz. So, the Heat, there's injury worries with Bam, who's playing Sunday, with Wiggins, who's not. There's the Thunder with Chet out on Sunday. Does Caruso play both games? I don't know. He's going to play Sunday. Isaiah Joe, he's out Sunday. Does he play Monday? The Blazers, Jeremy Grant is out on Sunday. Denny Avdia's playing, but does Avdia play Monday? Is Grant is he actually just, as he fully gone, it is the Ides of March, I refuse? Is this what's happening now? I don't know. So we see it. And the Jazz, where everyone is sitting Sunday, I think they all play on Monday because it's against the Pistons. Because then they've got some terrible games against other opponents during the week. And we're going to be very, very, very vigilant on watching who the Jazz play as to whether their guys are going to be available or not. So everyone's out on Sunday. They play the Pistons Monday. Then it's the Wizards Wednesday, Raptors Friday, Sixers Sunday. So don't be shocked if they all play Monday and they all sit the next 3. Don't be shocked. They might not. They might interchange guys in and out. Just don't be shocked if that is what we get, because it's a compressed part of the schedule. They want to lose, and they're against some of the worst teams in the NBA. I think they play. So they've got Pelicans, Wizards, Raptors, Sixers. That's 4 of the 6 worst teams in the NBA. And one of those other 2 teams is them. And the other one is Charlotte. So they play all of the bad teams in a week. Be ready. I'm not guaranteeing it, but we are ready. We are prepared. Chunks, Monday to Friday. If you want to preserve ads and you're in a spot where, hey, let me just get 3 and 5. Here are some names to look at, all 30% or below rostered. You're going to hear the name Quentin Briefcase Haircut Grimes a lot today. He was awesome in that last game. But remember, like we said on the Waiver Wire show, him scoring 44 points is not because Joel Embiid was ruled out for the season. It's because he shot 80%. The minutes and the shot attempts, yeah, that bumped, but doesn't always be like that. But still, we're feeling good about it. Keon Ellis. Sabonis out helps. Couple more touches, couple more minutes. Max Christie. I don't think Max Christie is a must-roster player. But you get 3 games in 5 nights. Not everyone gets that. We're really interested. Chris Dunn. Norman Powell's returning. Does he play big minutes? I don't know. Dunn will still should be useful across that time. Caris, LeVert, and the Hawks. He will throw out a dud, I'm sure, but there's enough to make up for it. And the other one there is Kyle Filipowski. Understanding, though, that I'm putting Filipowski in that on the basis, this is not including Sunday, on the basis that I believe that at least on Wednesday or on Friday, which is their 2 games against the Wizards and the Raptors, that you're going to have wholesale rests on one of those days, maybe both. So you've got at least, I would say you've got at least 1 30-minute Filipowski game, maybe 2 in this 5-day period. And that same goes for Sensabaugh, KJ Martin, those sort of players as well. But Filipowski is the better option out of that group. Let's take some looks at some key statuses injury-wise for Monday. Paul George, like I said, Jeremy Grant is ruled out on Sunday, so I'll have him questionable on Monday. Jim Butler, back spasms in the last game, then they head into a back-to-back, so watch that. Andy Wiggins and Jaime Jaquez Jr. We know that Jovic is out, and these 2 being out opens up stuff for Robinson, opens up stuff for Haywood Highsmith in those positions. Des Bane and a bunch of the Grizzlies missed their game on Saturday, so we need to check on him and Desmond Bane and Brandon Clark and Demetrius Morant, who of course couldn't play 6 games in a row, had to miss that one. Fred VanVleet with that ankle problem, which he said was pretty sore after the game. He played through it, but we'll see. They got a back-to-back as well. Chet Holmgren, he's out on Sunday, but there's the rest portion. But remember, he sprained his ankle the game before and had to leave the game. So I think he probably plays, but I don't know. PJ Washington missed the Mavericks last game, so I don't know whether he's going to be available. And then the Jazz. I expect the Jazz to play. And by the Jazz, I mean the 5 Jazz. Sexton, Clarkson, Markkanen, Collins, Kessler. That's the 5 Jazz. They're the at-risk Jazz. So they're all out on Sunday. I think they all play on Monday. But we need to see. We're going to come back with some points league streaming options. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA action is just getting started. There is no better place to get in on that action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because with FanDuel, you can place live bets all through the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off, well, you can just see what's going on during the game and go place your live bets. Who's going to win? Are they going to cover the spread? What's the total going to be like? Some player props as well. First half, second half stuff. You can check all that out. And you can combine your live bets on FanDuel into a same-game parlay to increase your payout if you happen to win. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just go to FanDuel.com to join today. That is FanDuel.com to get your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, let's take a look now at some streaming. We'll start by looking at points leagues and start with Yahoo points scoring. And there is a slight difference between Yahoo points and ESPN points, guys, for Monday, but not a massive one. I'm not going to include all those percentage numbers on the side as I've done the last week and a half or so. I think you get the idea of the way that we're attacking this. These are still listed in order, but I'm trying to cover multiple different league sizes and availabilities. Quentin Grimes, again, you're just going to see his name at the top again. He won't do what he did last game, but Embiid is out. We know that. But also Paul George might be out. And Grimes should be starting. Now, would I worry a little bit about Grimes on a back-to-back with a sore knee? Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And I'll talk about that towards the end of the show because at the moment, I am going to put him as the top of my streaming plan stream, guys, but I am a little worried about it. So maybe I don't put him there. I've got him there now, but we'll see. Caris LeVert, another points league guy, to the Yahoo points, who's available in quite a few spots. He's obviously, we know this, he's obviously quite risky. Keyshawn George is not going to put up huge numbers, but at the moment, we feel pretty okay about the floor. The other thing with the Wizards is that Jordan Poole has been ruled out again. And their next game is also, it's against the Jazz. So wouldn't be shocked if, is it against the Jazz? It's against someone bad because he's been ruled out on Monday, Jordan Poole. And I think their next game on the Wednesday it is against the Jazz. And then they play, they got a ridiculous schedule of bad teams as well. They go Jazz, Raptors, the next 3 games after Monday. Oh, no. Okay. Then they go Pistons, Nuggets, so that's okay. But yeah, just keep an eye on that. Nick Smith for the Hornets, who can bludgeon his way into some points at times. Bub Carrington with Poole out. Carrington's minutes should be up, and that's enough to consider him. And then Quinton Post. I don't know whether Kuminga's going to play. I don't know whether Butler's going to play. I do think the foreseeable future legend Stephen Kerr, considering that Post worked in the last 2 games. Kerr in the foreseeable future stuff, usually, if something works, he just does it the next game. And then if it doesn't work, then we get a switcheroo. That's usually how he runs. But it worked for Post. Oh, they lost, but Post was still okay. So I imagine he gets at least a decent enough role. Imagine that we're talking about Quinton Post. Remember at the start of the year, we're going, maybe Trae Jackson-Davis is their starting center. Yeah, cool. No worries. That didn't work, did it? But Post is somewhat interesting as a deeper stream guy. For ESPN, we're going to go with a lot of the same names there, but you'll notice there is one name that's slightly different, whose value in ESPN points spikes a lot. I got Quentin Grimes and Caris LeVert and Keyshawn George there, but Keon Ellis. You get the extra value of what steals are worth. You get the extra value of what threes are worth. And that's what he does. He hits threes pretty well, and he gets steals very well. And both of those things get bumped in ESPN compared to Yahoo, so he is elevated on that list. So we've got Grimes, we've got LeVert, Keyshawn George, Keon Ellis, Nick Smith, and once again, Quinton Post in that spot. Now, let's look at some category league action. And remember, at the start of the week, we're going to be a little bit more general. Not full general, but a little bit more general. We'll look at some points and threes combination stream, guys. And guess what? Quentin Grimes sits at the top. Yeah, he does. He's a starter who could have solid usage that might increase. So we like it. Nick Smith, this is literally what he does. He doesn't do anything else. And you are going to get dicked on your field goal percentage. We know that. But that's okay. Keyshawn George also, he's probably more of a threes guy than a points guy. But that's also okay. That's also a viable use of streaming. So we put him there. And the same with Corey Kispert. He is a 3-point specialist. He doesn't do much more. He plays those 26 minutes or so. We'll see what they do with a Justin Champagny, but given that Jordan Poole is out, it does provide a level of value, a level of safety, I guess, for Kispert there. George Niang, he can occasionally add some rebounds into that, but his role is relatively safe as a 28 to 30 minute a night player. And the last one, of course, is Dylan Brooks, who this could be absolute stinker territory for Dylan Brooks because he's had like 3 good games in a row, and we know what the Dylan Brooks law is. But again, starter, 31 minutes, opportunity, maybe, let's see, hopefully. He's worth a crack. He's worth a crack for sure in that spot. We'll come back for more of the category league streaming options. Before we do that, though, DoorDash is one of today's sponsors. And if you're an NBA fan, you're already ready to swoosh your way into something good, because if they swoosh, you save. With Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you get a huge deal the next day. It's simple. Anyone scores 50 like Quentin Grimes almost did during the NBA regular season, 24-25 regular season, Dash Pass members will get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon through to midnight. Do you want a game day feast? You get wings, burgers, pizzas, all that stuff. $10 off, 50% up to $10. You want something for yourself? Just a little hide it under your little blankets, eat a couple of dimmies. Do you know what a dimmy is? Who knows what a dimmy is? No one. I'm sure DoorDash isn't serving dimmies, but that's okay, because you can sign up for Dash Pass and get what you want. Be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders of participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. All right, let's get into some more of these streaming options. We just did the points and threes. Let's look at assists and steals. Ooh, I'm going out of order because last time I did boards and blocks first. Assists and steals. Davion Mitchell. He's getting an inordinate amount of minutes. He is shooting the absolute lights out, which I don't trust at all. But let's say baseline 5 assists, 1 steal, up to 8 assists, 2 steals. Yeah, possible. Like it. Quentin Grimes actually can help in both those as well. So he's useful there as well. And again, I am worried about him on the back-to-back, but I think he'll be fine for Monday. Caris LeVert. It's what he does as well. These are all solid enough options who are available in a lot of different areas. And this one's one who's going to be available everywhere. And I can't actually believe that I'm saying it, but with Jordan Poole out, maybe you look at Marcus Smart. Now, I don't think, and we'll talk a little bit more about the stream plan later. I'm not going to get excited about Marcus Smart whatsoever. And it's not a long-term situation at all. Because, as we know, the Wizards play on Monday, and then they've got the worst schedule the rest of the week. 2 more games the rest of the week. That is it. So, it'd be a one-day stream. And again, if you are in a position where you can do one-day streaming, that is what a lot of these lists are for. But you often have to be more intentional with it. Keyshawn George is on that list, another Wizards player, and Najee Marshall, who, with maybe some uncertainty around PJ Washington, well, definitely some uncertainty, they did sign Kai Jones on a 2-way deal. He's also bad, but is he better than Moses Brown? I think he might be. But Brown is gone. We'll see whether they start Jones, or Marshall's going to have a relatively solid role there. So I'm pretty okay with looking at Najee Marshall as an option when the schedule makes sense. If we do go across the big men, the reason I'm not putting Gershon Yabusele there is he sits over 65% on my Basketball Monster Advanced roster metric, and I use a 65% cutoff. So he's not there. But Andre Drummond, he started last game. He only played 21 minutes or whatever it was, and Yabusele played more. But Drummond was worthwhile. For this especially. Isaiah Stewart is there. Rashawn Holmes, even in backup minutes, he was very good. And that's not a long-term situation, but we have a look. And then we get into a deeper one, like Kevon Looney, who might only play 15 minutes, but 6 rebounds and a block is possible. That's, again, deeper league stuff. Justin Champagny, who might only play 23 minutes or so, but Jordan Poole being out. He's an unbelievable block guy as a wing player and could get 6 or 7 rebounds. We detailed him on the waiver wire show. He's averaging 1.3 blocks and 7 rebounds in 16 minutes over the last week. And yeah, that's probably going to come down, but again, not a bad guy. Same with Keyshawn George. But remember, Holmes, Champagny, George, they play Monday, and then it's 2 games in 6 nights. So it's a single day sort of scenario. If we take a look at percentages, 3 guys for field goal percentage. It's not very good. It's not very strong pickings. Rashawn Holmes is there. Gary Payton, if you're looking for guard stats, so steals and field goals, a weird combo. And Kevon Looney. But they might only get you 4 shots, 3 shots, 6 shots. It's hard to influence field goal percentage like that. It's part of the reason, or one of the reasons why in a lot of my leagues, I'm just going to punt field goals because A, it can be hard to influence it off the waiver wire, and B, a lot of guys that generate a bunch of counting stats are bad at field goals. Free throw percentage is easier, and I am going to put Jordan Clarkson there because, again, he is out on Sunday. I believe that he plays on Monday, and then he's out the rest of the week, but I believe he plays Monday. So I think Jordan Clarkson for free throw percentage is interesting. I've got Nick Smith there and Duncan Robinson. All those guys could easily be 88, 90%, 4 of 4, 5 of 5, 3 of 3 from the line guys for Monday. So they sit in that area there for me. Now, if we look at a streaming plan, and I put this up and I created the graphic, but I'm going to change it up. So I'll put it up just to, again, full transparency, because I have thoughts and I go through things and we adjust as we do it. When we did the weekly planning, the streaming planning stuff on the previous show, we talked about how there are two ways to go about it. 1 slot, 2 slot, if you've got the 4 moves per week. Starting next week, we will introduce a 7-move streaming plan for ESPN. But ESPN playoffs don't start till next week, at least. So we'll talk about that later. Anyway, if you're using a 1-slot stream, it is going to be your best option for this week. It gives you the best ability. You can get a 3-game player and turn it into 7 games. A +4 is a huge W with 4 moves in 1 slot. If you're doing 2 slots, you don't get enough of an advantage because you'd have 2 3-game players, and the most you could turn it into is 10 games total, which is only a +4, but you limit your player pool of who you add in that spot, which makes it less interesting. I'd rather get a +4 from 1 slot than a +4 from 2 slots. If you see what I mean. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so on the 1 slot streaming, we want to hit a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back. There are 4 teams who have that. And my number 1 name there was Quentin Grimes, but the more I think about it, the more I think about the way the Sixers are handling things, the more I think about the way that he's had some troublesome knees, I think there is a distinct chance that Grimes sits on Tuesday. He might not. But if we're going to burn an ad to get 2 games and you get 1, that's not good enough. So I am replacing Quentin Grimes in that stream plan with Caris LeVert. The other one I'll have is Dylan Brooks, but I'm going to have Grimes out. Again, that could be a terrible decision, but I'm just a little worried. So I'm going to put LeVert and Brooks as my 2 1-slot streamers. Now, for 2-slot streaming, there is a way to have a little bit more success with it. If you have a Washington Wizards player on your roster already, not even including Jordan Poole, because I would keep him, but Bilal, Sarr, George, Bub, Middleton, Holmes, whoever it is. If you have one of those guys on your roster, you play them Monday. You get the numbers out of them on Monday. And then, given they've got 2 games in 6 nights the rest of the week, you could drop them. And then that would mean, using that 1 slot, you could then get, instead of getting 5 games out of that 1 slot, you could get 6 games out of that 1 slot. And using only 2 moves. And then the second slot is 5 games out of 1 slot. So you've got a 2-slot stream. You've used 4 moves for the week. You have 11 games total instead of what you would have had there, which would have been 6 if you hadn't have made a move. So it's a +5. So it's a little bit more beneficial. I do have Quentin Grimes there, but again, I'm deleting him and I'm putting Caris LeVert there because we're looking for a 3-game in 4-night period here. Again, we're holding the Wizard for Monday, and then we'll drop that Wizard Monday and then get a 3 and 4 between Tuesday and Friday. But the other slot is going to be a Monday to Thursday 3 and 4. So I'll remove Grimes and I'll put LeVert, and the other one I want there is Niang. So they're the guys we're going to be tracking. If we're doing just the plain 2-slot stream, which I do not recommend this week, I would do LeVert and Niang. If we're doing the Hold a Wizard 2-slot stream, well then, in one of those slots that's not the Wizard slot on Monday, I would add LeVert into that spot instead of Grimes. So Wizard and LeVert would be my combination there. And then my single slot stream is LeVert and Brooks. Okay? I hope that I think that's relatively clear. We're good. That is the end. That's a daily look ahead. It's Moscow Mule Day. Go make yourself a Moscow Mule if you've got those copper mugs. Hey, if you've got your copper mugs, get your copper mugs out. Show them to me. Tweet them at me. Maybe. Whatever. Thumb it up. Comment. Subscribe. Guys, keep yourselves positive. Even if you don't make the fantasy playoffs, I hope this is all just, it's a hobby. It's fun. It's something we do to enjoy, enhance our enjoyment of the game and the NBA and the league and all that stuff. Tickle certain itches in our brain. And if you have been on top all year and you're losing the first round of the playoffs, you know what? It happens. Sometimes we cannot control luck. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. guys, guess what? Just as I finished recording, the Rockets say, hey, we're listing everyone questionable for Monday. Dylan Brooks, Tari Eason, Alperen Şengün, Armin Thompson, and Fred VanVleet. Yeah, so I might have to take Dylan Brooks out of that stream slot. So I'll put up the original graphic again and the adjustments that I made. So again, sorry, post-credit scene, like a legit post-credit scene here. Instead of Grimes and Brooks, we're changing that to LeVert and Niang for the one slot stream. For the bottom one, it's still Hold a Wizard, and then it's LeVert and Niang. So a lot of LeVert, a lot of Niang in the stream plan. We good? Should we play the outro song again? Or maybe I just sing a little bit of Desiree's Life to get us out of here. Life, oh life, oh life, oh life. See ya.